Hello and welcome to the Art of Caro. In this video we are making the cloak and the I Ain't Dead sign for Granny Weatherwax, who is a character from the Discworld series by Terry Pratchetts. This is my third video about this cosplay, so I've already talked a lot about Granny Weatherwax, but I'm going to explain a bit about the cloak and the sign. Granny Weatherwax in the books has stated a fondness for velvet, and it is known that she has a velvet cloak that once was velvet but is been so well worn that it's basically just black, and it is used as a blanket for her goats when she aren't wearing it, and it is said it's fastened by a tarnished silver brooch. It also stated in another part of the books that she wears a somewhat battered black cloak. The cloak I am making is crushed black velvet, because that's what I could get in polyester. So it was what I had available to me, and I like the look of it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and I'm lining it with some just plain weave cotton, just to give it a bit more of a heft, because my understanding of more historical velvet is that it's a lot more stable than modern polyester velvet is. So I think the look will be really nice, and I'm also going to make a half moon clasp thingy for it. And then I'm going to make her I Ain't Dead sign. And in the books she does something called borrowing. That is, she borrows the body and senses of an animal, so she doesn't possess it. She likes... There's a difference between possessing and borrowing. But she borrows borrows the senses and abilities of an owl, for example, to look around at night and stuff like that. And while she does this, she goes into a very deep trance-like state, and her breathing is very shallow, and she is completely still. And there have been several embarrassing occasions when people have come to her and seen her lying there and panicked and thought she was dead, and there's a whole thing, and then she wakes up and she's alive, and it's so she taken in later years to making a sign where it says I ain't dead. So because the spelling in this world is the fun, especially in the ram tops. Oh, and back to the cloak, I mentioned that the velvet was tarnished and like it had lost all its velvetiness. I'm making a younger version with a newer cloak, I guess, so I didn't know how to put it together. Well, I didn't want to do a weathered cloak, so this is what I did. This is a younger version of Granny Weatherwax before the cloak has gotten that much wear out of it. It's maybe it's a gift from her witch mentor or something like that, so it's fairly new. Anyway, let's just get into the making of the cloak, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so what I have here is my fabric. This is the velvet, the polyester velvet, and this is the plain cotton weave. The satin has a stretch on the cross grain, but not on the lengthwise grain. So what I'm doing here, because I have 2 meters and I want to utilize as much of the fabric as possible for the cape itself, I am just attaching right sides together the crosswise grain on the ends of these fabric pieces, and then the top of it. And then I'm going to let the selvage act as the hem. I'm not going to finish it in any way, I don't think. And as you can see, the satin is a bit longer than the cotton weave, which I think will be good, and the fact that it hangs freely from the cotton I think will help with the stretch of it all, because my grandmother made me this. So my grandma made this lovely cape once upon a time with a non-stretchy polyester satin on the inside, and on the outside it's a one direction stretch velvet. So this is also stretchy on the crosswise grain, I think, but she has aligned it so that the length of the cape is the lengthwise grain. I'm doing the reverse, but she has the hems separated, and that has just made sure that it hasn't been wrinkling weirdly, I think. So I'm gonna go with that. I mean, I'm so in love with this glittery black blue fabric. I got to choose it, and it was a great gift when I was younger. I'm not doing this style because I can't find that pattern, but I'm just making a big rectangles that I'm going to gather at the neck and attach to a collar that I've set aside some strips of the fabric of. But almost all the fabric I got, because I have 2 meters here, but when they cut it out at the store, they always give you a little bit extra, so in case it's wonky or something like that at the edge. So that little extra piece was perfect for the collar, so I just ripped that off of the cotton and cut it from the velvet, and then I'm gonna make a collar of it. But anyway, I'm gonna get working on this so I get it done soon. So for the collar I made this rectangle piece, the size of my neck measurement, and then I'm stitching around it and trimming the seam allowance. This is an outer layer of the velvet and an inner layer of the cotton. Before I start with ironing, I just wanted to say I know that you're not supposed to iron directly on velvet, and that you're supposed to have something like a towel or another piece of velvet underneath it, or like a special velvet ironing needle board thingy. But I've done some tests, and you can't really see a difference after I've ironed it. I don't know if it's because it's the polyester and it's very short velvet. I don't know why. But when there is a difference, if you go too long, it's so small that it doesn't really affect the look very much. So I'm just going to go with low heat and iron it, and just carefully. I don't think it's going to destroy anything for this project. So, as you know, I wouldn't iron like a silk velvet or something like that the way I do with this, but this doesn't really matter. So, yeah. And here I'm just pressing the collar, and then I'm stitching together the side seams of the cloak, with the right sides together, and using this special attachment for my pressing foot that's meant for stretch fabric. And here I'm pressing the seam allowance so that I can fold it right sides out with a crisp fold. And then I'm folding it right sides out and pressing it for that crisp fold that I wanted to have. And then I'm pinning down the fold. And then I'm also pinning the top edge of the cloak. And then I'm top stitching on the front edges of the cloak. And machine base down the top of the cloak. So what I've done here is I measured in a little less than like the front half. I don't know how to explain it. But anyway, I tried to figure out where is going to be appropriate for my arm to go. Because I want to have arm slits in the cloak. And I made this sort of like a welt pocket thingy. And I measured in and I pinned it. And the reason that I didn't film it was that this fabric combination is really hard to work with. And I am running out of time. So you're gonna have to be happy with this. So I'm gonna stitch these ones. So then I'm stitching around the marking for the opening, just leaving a small piece of fabric between my stitching, and then I'm cutting that open, making sure to cut a little bit of a Y at the ends to make the folding over easier. And then I'm folding my facing piece to the inside. And press it down. Make some more crisp edges. And then I'm pinning down the facing. And give a press on the outside, and then I'm pinning on the outside instead because I'm going to do some more top stitching. And here I'm doing that around the edge of the openings. And then I'm pressing it again and folding in the seam allowance of the facing. And pressing that. And then I'm pinning down the seam allowance. And baste it down. And then I'm hand stitching down the facing and making sure to just catch the lining fabric. And then I'm removing the basting. And then I'm stitching 2 rows of gathering stitches at the top of the cloak, and I'm doing this in 2 sections just because it's going to be really bulky. And then I'm pinning the upper edge of the cloak to the collar, and this gathering was so hard to do. The fabric was way too bulky. I should have probably cartridge pleated it to the collar, but I didn't have time for that, and this gathering took me like an hour and a half just to do the gathering. But I managed to get it to the collar without any thread breaking, so I'm kind of proud of that. Then I'm evening out the gatherers and pinning in them to the collar, and then I'm stitching the cloak to the collar. Being very careful to not scrunch up the collar underneath. And then I'm pressing the seam allowance up towards the collar. and I'm folding over the color and folding in the seam allowance of the color and pinning that on the inside and giving it some pressing to make it look all nice. And then I'm pasting the inside of the collar to the cloak. And then I'm hand stitching the inside of the collar. And then I'm removing the basting. And then I'm stitching on an hook and eye to the front of the cloak just beneath the collar. And then I'm attaching this half moon charm to the front. I just removed the little hanging thing, the loop that's meant for hanging it on a necklace or something like that. And then I'm working on the sign. I copied Granny Weatherwax words, and first I just used regular ink from a pen, but then I realized I needed to make it bigger, so I used this brush pen, and then I am crumpling it up and ripping it to make it look a bit more aged and something that's been clutched in the Granny Weatherwax hands while she's meditating. And this is the finished result. That's the cloak and the sign. I am very happy with this. I wasn't done with the cloak at the time of taking the pictures with my dad, so it's basted together in a lot of places. But I think it turned out beautiful, and I'm looking forward to wearing it on Halloween. And yeah, there's not a lot to say. This was a purely cosplay piece. It's not something that I'm going to try to incorporate in my regular wardrobe, just like the witch's hat. And I'm happy with it. It's dramatic, it's witchy, it's yeah, it's fun. Yeah, so I'm super happy with it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this final installment on my Granny Weatherwax cosplay series. And yeah, there's not a lot more to say, so thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more of my videos in the future, you may want to subscribe and hit the notification bell. May the stars shine upon your faces and have a glorious day. Thank you, and goodbye for now.